Emotions run high at a Thunder Bay Police media conference in the wake of charges against the former chief. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Current Thunder Bay Police leadership believes the service is moving in the right direction.
That was the message delivered during a news conference today in response to the criminal charges laid against former Chief Sylvie Hoth last week. Vasilios Bellis was at the event, and Vasilios, many in attendance demanded more from current leadership.
That's right, Riley. There were a number of former service members at the event as well who were simply unsatisfied with the response from current Police Chief Darcy Flurry and Board Chair Karen Machado. Hoth's arrest was the result of an OPP investigation that began in 2021, which has already led to charges against two others, including the former police lawyer. Thunder Bay Police leadership held a news conference after the arrest of former Chief Sylvie Hoth, though the event was interrupted by the lawyer representing many former police service members alleging misconduct, Chantel Bryson.
They are still defending them today, and the taxpayers of Thunder Bay are paying for it. The OPP is clear it's not done. There are still other accused in the service at a senior level.
Bryson challenged Police Chief Darcy Flurry and Police Board Chair Karen Machado's response to the arrest of Hoth, who now faces 4 criminal charges. They stem from an OPP investigation beginning in 2021 into misconduct on part of the Thunder Bay Police Service, with former police lawyer Holly Walborn and Staff Sergeant Michael Dimony already charged through the same investigation.
I can't ask anybody to have trust in me. I can only show them that they can.
Chief Flurry was asked to address the challenges the public may have trusting the police service, especially with Dimony being an active member as recently as October of last year. Flurry pointed to the service's Indigenous Advisory Committee as a way of moving policing forward.
Systemic racism, as we know, has been front and center for many years in pretty much all of the reports that we've seen. So we've asked these agencies to go through our policies and procedures and make sure that the language in there is not going to be putting us back into a pattern of that sort of systemic racism or potential for that.
Chair Machado stressed the board and service are moving in the right direction and will focus on accountability.
Alleged incidents of the past are not a reflection of the work that is occurring today. Our board will not hesitate to act on any allegations of misconduct.
There were a number of former service members in attendance for the event, frustrated with the response from leadership.
I hope that they all find out how bad this feels.
That includes former civilian police member Jamie Cunningham, who explained why she felt the need to leave the service during Hoth's tenure.
The circumstances of being very, very physically ill and no longer being able to mentally cope with being at my job. It was not the job itself, but rather management.
Hoth's lawyer has provided a statement saying the decision to charge Chief Hoth is both disappointing and regrettable. Hoth is confident the people of Thunder Bay won't rush to judgment. She looks forward to her trial. She is confident she will prevail. Anishinaabe Nation also provided a statement saying they've expressed concerns with the Thunder Bay Police Service's ability to conduct competent death investigations, to the point they've called for the service's disbandment and don't trust its work. The statement goes on to say that NAN's disappointed Flurry and Machado have failed to acknowledge the serious situation and say there's been too many losses and too many tears. Vasilios Bellis, TBT News.
Police Chief Darcy Flurry was involved in a dicey situation last Thursday evening when he tried to deal with an unruly woman outside the liquor store on Cumberland Street. Flurry was told the woman had been kicking the doors and lashing out at security guards just before he arrived. The chief decided to have a conversation with the woman to convince her to leave the area, but he ended up having to restrain and arrest her after things took a turn for the worse.
When I did tell her that she was under arrest for mischief, she became very violent and started punching at me, so I continued to walk her down as she was trying to walk away. And as she continued to walk away, I told her again she was under arrest and she continued to try to strike me.
A group of people had been standing with the woman before Flurry approached her. He says they came back in a threatening manner after he subdued her. He tried calling the staff sergeant on duty to ask for backup, but without success. He then called Deputy Chief Ryan Hughes, who managed to get officers there in about 3 minutes. Flurry says although the force always needs more officers, he has no issue with the response time for backup in this situation.
We have talked to the city about resourcing and the need for additional resources and where we're at, but in this particular incident, it's one of those cases where it's, you know, we prioritize. I don't think it really matters what the situation is. This was a low priority. It was a very low priority until the group came back around and started posturing to me. That was, until that point, it was, I could have just sat there till they arrived, but once they start coming back to you and it starts to get more violent, then there needs to be a pickup, and the officers arrived shortly after.
The second phase of conservatory renewal is up for discussion at City Hall tonight. The price tag has jumped considerably for the work. It's now expected to cost nearly $7.8 million. That's well above the city's initial estimate of $5.1 million. The first phase included the demolition of the back greenhouses and construction of a new one. The second phase being discussed tonight includes the main garden space with its glass enclosure and interior walking spaces. City Parks Manager Corey Halverson says many of the new features could offer programming and revenue in the future.
Whether it's the multi-purpose room for bookings, for events, allowing people access back into there and booking those for a fee, or having other types of events and activities. We'll also be looking at options for maintaining free public access, but also offering some type of a membership scenario that would be able to leverage the additional activity that's coming on, new things that can be offered that you could maybe tie to a membership.
The Phase 2 work was supposed to happen in 2023, but was delayed by a year due to supply chain issues. Halverson says starting construction is a top priority. It's expected to be finished in spring or summer of next year.
It's being touted as the biggest enhancement to GO Transit rail service in more than a decade.
The province is set to introduce more than 300 new weekly GO Transit trips by the end of the month in southern Ontario. CTV's Siobhan Morris has those details.
It's being touted as the biggest expansion of GO Train service in over a decade, a 15% bump.
We're adding more than 300 new weekly trips, supporting two-way all-day GO service on some of the province's busiest train routes.
By the end of April, on the Lakeshore East and West lines, trains will come every 15 minutes, weekend afternoons and evenings. Kitchener will see trains every half hour in some weekday periods. There'll be new evening runs on the Stouffville line and more rush hour trips between Milton and Union Station.
Would it be more frequent to be like, come on, it's about time.
It would make my life a lot easier with more frequent service.
I think 15% more is great, but I would go more, I'd go 25.
There will be a tweak to the Up Express rail link to the country's biggest airport.
Every second Up Express train will soon be non-stop between Union Station and Pearson Airport.
While it wasn't designed to be a commuter route,
the Up has become an integrated part of transit in Toronto, with lots of people getting on and off at Dundas West and Weston, and the fact that the government's going to take that away from them just hurts transit in the city.
The Transportation Minister's office insists commuters will be covered by service increases on the Kitchener line on the two stops in the middle of the Up route. With the provincial by-election in Milton about 2 weeks away, the Premier's calling on the feds to join his government.
In a true cost-sharing partnership to build a fully separated passenger rail line so we can finally make two-way, all-day GO train service a reality here in Milton.
The opposition thinks the Premier's wasting time.
I don't think those kinds of announcements hold a lot of weight. I think it's a little bit of fluff.
He's done it in other places. He doesn't have to wait for the federal government.
Ontario has promised to bring two-way, all-day GO rail to Milton by 2031.
That was CTV's Siobhan Morris reporting. Transitioning from trains to planes now, Ontario's Transportation Minister was questioned by Kiiwetinoong MPP Saul Mamakwa today on much-needed airport upgrades in remote First Nations. The ministry operates 27 airports in Anishinaabe Nation territory, which Mamakwa says require up-to-date technology and maintenance. Although support and funding was mentioned, Mamakwa's desire for a timeline wasn't addressed today.
The First Nations rely on these airports for critical goods and services. Speaker, the waiting areas are substandard, unsafe facilities for passengers and pilots alike. The airports in Kiiwetinoong still need runway extensions and modern navigational aids to improve the flight access. Speaker, when will the waiting areas in these airports be held up to standard and make sure that these runways are extended?
And I can assure the member that we'll continue to work with them as the province has provided a commitment to 100% of the remote funding on the operational side, $14.5 million every single year. But we'll continue and share those issues that have been raised by that member with respect to some of the flooding are taken care of, and that we work together to ensure that those are fixed so we can continue to support that vital piece of infrastructure in our north.
A drive-through dump operated by a locally owned business is now closed after the Ministry of the Environment ordered the company to shut it down immediately. Junk Away on Alloy Drive had offered the drive-through dump as an option for people in the Thunder Bay area to drop off their garbage. Company owner Dan Cheel says it was a good way to prevent trash ending up in back lanes or forested areas. But the service is no longer available as the ministry deemed it to be a threat to the environment. The company's other services, like full-service junk removal, garbage bin rentals, and light demolition, are still available. Cheel spoke about the impact the drive-through dump had on the community.
They've taken a great service away from many people who otherwise can't get to the city landfill, whether it be a vehicle, whether it be time or money. I was dealing with a lot of single parents, a lot of single mothers, a lot of elderly people coming here. We would actually take their garbage, if they couldn't lift it, and transfer it into one of our bins. Everybody was loving the service. I certainly wasn't getting rich at $4 a bag. It was more of a community service, doing my part to help everybody feel good about doing their part.
This isn't the first time the company has been impacted by a Ministry of Environment decision. Cheel says a year ago he was given a 3-week deadline to obtain an $1,100 mandatory permit that the ministry was enforcing. He also had to put sticker numbers on all his trucks. But Cheel alleges that to date, none of his competitors have been forced to do the same. The ministry hasn't yet responded to our request for comment.
From comedy to horror to sci-fi, film buffs were in for a wide variety of entertainment this weekend as second-year film students from Confederation College presented their short films.
The annual Conflicts Film Festival was a milestone for the students and a chance to celebrate their hard work. Jess Clement has the story.
The outgoing class of Confederation College's film program got the chance to see their hard work and creativity on the big screen this weekend with the return of the Conflicts Film Festival. The annual celebration was held Friday evening and all day Sunday, bringing out families, friends, and community members to watch the 33 student films.
It's a very important, very prestigious weekend for our students. Their families fly in from all over the country, and yeah, it's a real experience. So it's the culmination of an awful lot of work. So we're very pleased and proud about all of our films and our students, for sure.
Film production program coordinator Eric Weller notes the event was a big milestone for students, as they were expected to use all the skills they've learned over the past 2 years to make a short film. Second-year student Daniel Casio says for his project, he wanted to make a horror film.
My passion is all about horror films, so that's what I created, a horror film. It's amazing because we put a lot of effort in this. I've had very scary experiences in my life, and I decided to make it something real for people to watch. I wanted to share my experience with people.
Casio says the festival gives him and his peers the opportunity to leave their mark on the community.
That's the most amazing experience I can have right now, because there's nothing such as seeing the people just reacting live to your film, hearing the people clapping, screaming, in my case, scary film. So it's such an amazing experience.
For those who missed the screenings but still wish to view the films, they'll be available online next week at conflicts.ca. Jessica Clement, TBT News.
Starting today, city crews will be out on local roads, removing the sand that was spread over the winter months. Downtown core areas, bike lanes, transit routes, and arterial and collector streets will be done first. That should take about 6 to 8 weeks. Street and sidewalk sweeping crews will then move on to residential areas, and if weather permits, those roads will be cleared in about 8 weeks. Road Division Manager Ian Sproul-Jarrich is asking motorists to use extra caution around street sweepers.
We have crews on both sides of the city, one in the north, one in the south. Consists of 3 main sweepers, 2 sidewalk sweepers, and 2 or 3 tandems along with the flusher truck. And it's a mobile operation, goes down the road and in and out of there quickly. So when they come up on our street sweeping operation, just make sure to give them lots of time, slow down, and when it's safe to do so, then you can pass.
City residents can check where their neighborhood falls in the street sweeping sequence this year on the city's website.
Well, that's a sign of spring. We're talking the streets being swept. Fiona, we're talking gorgeous temperatures there written behind you. What a great day.
Yeah, a beautiful start to the work week. We had loads of sunshine. In fact, we ranged from partly to mostly sunny throughout the day. Winds at times a little bit brisk, up to 36 kilometers per hour from the northwest, but when you're dealing with temperatures like 16, it's nothing but good stuff to enjoy. And the temperatures were fairly consistent throughout the region, although Thunder Bay, definitely one of the hot spots. Little bit cooler as you head further west. Fort Frances, Dryden, Kenora, all at their highs for the day at this hour of 13, but with loads of sunshine. Just a few more clouds as you head up to the northwest into Red Lake at 12, 11 in Sioux Lookout and Armstrong. Greenstone also enjoying double digits under sunny skies at this time. And along the North Shore, low teens, but beautiful day. Little cooler as you head further to the eastern shores. Wawa at 7, 9 in Sault Ste. Marie under just a few clouds. Now here in the city of Thunder Bay tonight, we are going to slip below the freezing mark, just slightly, but winds are going to be very light, so don't have to worry about any wind chills. -1, and we'll see a little bit of clearing that should set the stage for a fairly nice Tuesday, but temperatures are actually going to start to fall. And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, depending on how you look at it, we are in for some wet weather again come midweek. And on a positive note, we need it. On the negative note, we're going to have to say goodbye to those warm temperatures and sunny skies until the system passes.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, Fiona. All right, let's turn our attention to national news now. The federal government, of course, has been making a slew of pre-budget announcements of late, and now the big day is nearly upon us. Tomorrow, the Finance Minister, Chrystia Freeland, will present the document in the House of Commons. That means today she participated in the age-old tradition of buying a new pair of shoes. We'll have that and more when your news hour continues after the break.
Middle-class stability is out of reach. We need to meet this moment.